So, welcome to part two of the multi-part forgiveness workshop. We were dealing a bit with the metaphysics of forgiveness, and we'll do a bit more. I'll give a little bit of revision on what we were doing last time. We were talking about the seeming separation when we had this tiny mad idea to separation sounds fun, let's try it, let's be like God. But we ended up feeling fearful and guilty, even though we've done nothing but fall asleep in heaven and dream it all. But the guilt, the fear is powerful, and it's intolerable to think that, knocked God off his throne or killed him, taken his power and moved out. One can't tolerate that. It would lead to a psychotic breakdown. So we have to deny and get rid of it somehow. Just think we were born by accident into this world, and here we are. I'm all new to this, and I just arrived as a baby, and you can't blame me for anything. I'm just a victim here. So we had to sort of throw out the guilts, and from that came a world where things appear to hurt us and harm us, and we're the innocent victims. But when you really understand forgiveness, you always have to come back to yourself. There's nothing in the world that can take your peace away. But if it reminds you of what's unhealed in you, then we get upset. But normally we don't see it in ourselves. We think it's somebody outside, somebody telling us to put a mask on or something. So forgiveness brings you back to you're the creator, and you can change everything. There's a quote in Tina's book, Karma of Chaos. Practicing forgiveness demonstrates that you understand you are a creator. It demonstrates you understand that if you identify something or somebody outside of you as the problem, you are literally attacking the part of your mind that you put outside you. You see, there's something inside you don't like, you deny it, you throw it out, it appears out there in the world, and then you attack it. But at the same time, you're attacking your own mind. It's just a reflection. The attack goes two ways. When you practice forgiveness, you bring your power back to you. And that is the opposite of what the ego believes. When you miscreate, you put all your energy and belief and power outside of you, even though it's still inside of you. So when you judge another, it's really you're judging a split off part of your own mind, which you deny and project. It's like stamping on your own foot. That's why after you attack someone, you might get a momentary high, vanquish the dictator. But if you notice, a little while later, you'll feel depressed. So all forgiveness is of yourself, and there is no other. And the metaphysics sort of brings this home. The quote continues, when you look around the world and do not understand it, when you look around the world and hate it, when you look around the world and see injustice and suffering, then you do not understand the principle of projection. That is quite a sentence if you dwell on it, because especially at this moment with COVID and kids getting jabbed, and it says if you're upset about any of this, then you don't understand projection. Because if that wasn't in you, you'd have compassion for the child, you'd have compassion for the person injecting the child, you'd have compassion for the authorities that are saying everyone must be injected. You'll have compassion for the guy that fires you because you won't take the vaccination. If you don't, then it's projection. As long as you believe that it's real in the absolute sense of the word, and as long as you believe that enemies and evil exist out there, you're in the powerless place of the victim. So we're living in a time where unless we see that, we're going to be continuously upset. Let's bring a few pictures up and jump in with your questions when you want, of course. Okay, share the screen. Okay. So that's what we were just talking about. So important, that one. So let's explore this. We'll finish off the metaphysics by look at this diagram. It's a little bit, printing's a bit small, but let me just move things around a bit. Okay, there it is. So this is a chart, I'll read it out, which explains this metaphysical principle. Starting at the top here, into our minds, this tiny mad thought we forget to laugh at. Let's try separation. This sounds fun. And then time and space arrived. We're separate. Suddenly we feel unconnected. We're like the Borg in Star Trek, and we get separated from the Borg mind. We feel terribly lonely. But we have got our separation. But we think we really must have upset God, taken his power to set up our own place. I have victimized God. He's in the unconscious. Oh, let's get rid of that. Did you see those things come up on the screen then?
No.
No? Okay, only me. So God's angry at me, and that's where all the Old Testament stories come from. God sending plagues and floods and demanding sacrifices, and so angry at his children for what they've done to him. So my ego then feels guilty, and there's a psychological law that punishment must follow guilt. You deserve to be punished for the terrible crime you've got against God. This is intolerable, and God's looking for me and will victimize me once he finds me. God will now victimize me. I can't win this battle here in my mind. And this is the break from the mind into the seeming universe. Get out of the mind, the ego says. That's where God can find you. Physical universe is made. God cannot find us here. We are safe from him. But the world has never left its source and must therefore contain all the ego's thought systems. Sin, guilt, and fear, they're all there. This rather tiny quote here is about the arrogance of that thought system we just described. We're dictating to God what he must feel, that he must be angry, he must be upset at us, telling him needs to punish us. This comes from the laws of chaos. Here's us saying what God is and how he should behave. So the vicious circle continues. The reason why God is angry is because I've hurt him, breaking up heaven. And then we smile, look at the power I have over God. Look what I've done. Aren't I amazing? So break away, lost unity, but look what I've made. And this power is because I've separated from him. And we're back to the full circle of guilt. And this will go round and round and round for eternity until we choose forgiveness. And forgiveness breaks up the circle. And then we start to wake up that, in fact, we never left heaven. It's all a crazy separation dream. And we've never sinned. And we can go home now if we want to. What we will finally realize is that we're sinless. What we do in our dreams It's not real last night. Even if you killed someone, never happened. And the Course says in the morning you don't wake up, you just go into another dream. And the sin is still felt, but God's unaware of these dreams. There is no sin. What God created, the Christ, can't sin. I think we mentioned from before that this word sin is an old word used at that time. It was a term from archery. And when they shot their arrows and it missed the mark altogether, that was called a sin, missing the mark. That was all. No need to be burnt in hell forever or God punishing us. It was just missing the mark. And the forgiveness will take us back to that state. So instead of offering judgment, we could do this instead. Today, we will attempt to offer peace to everyone and see how quickly peace returns to us. So all those dictators in Australia, you have the chance to criticize them or offer them peace. I would call this divine selfishness, because every time I manage to do it, I feel good. And every time I think, you terrible people injecting children, whatever you're up to, you know, I feel bad. As Jesus pointed out, you know, how do you know you're following your guidance? You feel good. How do you know you're following the ego? You feel bad. I mean, it's pretty simple, this course, really, when you think about it. Okay, I'll bring us back to the screen again. I wanted, before we move on to a different part of this, I want to look at some of the statements, which can seem a little puzzling, especially in the workbook. So I'll look at them now in contrast to what we've just been talking about. Before I do that, is there any questions?
This anger and this towards God, and so it must be very subconscious. I think it's not
Totally.
Not necessarily something we.
Totally, because they said, because of what we thought we've done, which we haven't done, if it was in our awareness, we'd go psychotic. I mean, if in this life, you know, we went out and killed someone, we're going to suffer badly and maybe try and blame everyone else. But to think, you know, you damaged God and heaven and broke up the Garden of Eden, we can't take that. We've got to deny it. We've got to throw it out. I did once connect slightly with it. I was contemplating something in the Course, that God created us and we were created in the likeness of God. That sounded good, but there was only one difference. God created Michael. Michael did not create God. So really, I'm number two. Okay, and I sat with number two, and gradually, or not so gradually, his anger started to come up in me. I'm number two. I'll never be number one. I'm always the created. I've been made. I didn't make myself. And I got angrier and angrier. It was brilliant, really, because I realized how the separation could come around. Like, well, bugger this. I'm going to be number one. I'm going to be God. I'm going to have my own universe. And I do exactly what I want. And bugger you. I don't need your guidance. I don't need your help, because I'm God. Goodbye. Oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah, I think if this is in the subconscious, we see it all over, like in the movie world. You see the person wanting world domination. It's in every movie playing out. I just watched a little bit yesterday with my son. in every movie now and before, you see the evil guy, and now it was AI that was the evil, wanting world domination. And then you had the human traits breaking the world domination. And the human traits were then the trueness of the human, which is love. So it's interesting because you see it's like a movie theme all over. It's
And,
interesting to notice.
yeah, and on a smaller scale, I mean, when I was working, I felt most of the time the bosses also wanted to totally dominate. I'm in charge. This is my department. You'll do what I say, otherwise you're punished. You know, gently or not so gently. There wasn't much love around. It was domination. I want to get higher. Bjorna, you're muted. Still muted, Bjorna. Anyone got a lip reading, Bjorna?
Oh, one comment I had to what you were going through. This thing about being upset of what's happening in society, what the government is doing, and you know, all things going on. How I am in myself, I'm not getting upset, very little, but I'm feeling do I not care? Do I don't have compassion for all those people who are getting, you know, vaccinated or cheated or whatever? There's a borderline there. How much should I go out on the street and fight for this? But I'm doing other things, and is that the right thing according to the course, or is it? Or do I don't care at all? You see,
Yeah. Yeah, that's come up a few times in the live stream, I think. And Jesus said, some will be guided to man the barricades, and others will be guided to sit quietly at home.
Yeah.
And just walk around with a smile on their face. And that helps so many people, you know. Oh, here's this peaceful guy walking into the shop again or the cafe again. Oh, that's nice. So everyone's guided differently, aren't they?
I'm trusting that. So follow my guidance.
Yeah, I mean, the ego, I mean, our spiritual ego might say, well, we should be doing more. Should be doing more. And I've looked at that as well. I still carry my little booklets from scientists and people who don't want the jab, and occasionally someone asks me my thoughts and they get interested. I think I've given out about 8 packs now in the last 6 weeks, but I don't push it. I tend to keep away, but if they ask, I'm in there and we have great conversations. So that's what I'm doing, because I'm an information gatherer. So that's one of the things I do. I make little booklets and give them to people and create websites and mighty networks. but that's Michael. Others need to walk around with a little smile on their face, and that will help people.
I feel that I noticed for some time now, but especially now, if I get upset, it is of course with the ego part. It's like, you know, these Russian dolls, and you have the middle, the one in, little one in, you know what I'm trying to say without words, you know, in the middle.
Yeah.
And that I feel that is the ego me. And then I have the bigger structure that's really just as real as I am, but you just cannot see it, but it's there, and it's the divine bigger me.
Right.
And when I go around in the world, I see all the small babushka dolls like myself. And like this meeting we had with the principal and an inspector, they were, oh, I could get so mad, you know. Oh my God. And I only see the small babushka of that person. It's misled. It's out of fear. It's out of frustration. It's in that small person. But then sometimes I just try to look a bit like here on the person, like beyond the person. Yeah. And there's an internal field of love that I also can connect with and not be so concerned about the ego.
Right. That's
babushka,
nice.
the small babushka.
Yeah. Yeah. We got all these sheaths around. Sometimes they use that Like we have all these energy fields and they get higher
Yes.
and higher. And we focus on this very dense one right in front of us
Yes.
and forget they are Christ as well. Yeah. Oh, what times, eh? What times?
Yeah.
Okay, here's some things from the workbook. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. That's lesson 23. So we see, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. So we see this world of vengeance and attack and violence and pain and suffering. But the universe and myself is the cause of an attack. You know, I've attacked God and he's going to attack back. So this all began with an attack. So we're always waiting to be attacked, because attack worked for us. We got our separation, didn't we? So attack works. So wait for it. It's going to come our way now. So we go around in this sense of being defended. And lesson 23 says, the world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. We can't understand that without the metaphysics. We've attacked, and they're going to attack back. It just happens to be called God. But that's a bit down in our subconscious, so we project that out onto people and governments and partners and everything else. But we're waiting for it. We go around armored, protected, waiting for the next attack. Because attack works. I've been doing it, you know, for millennia. So other people must think it works too. The world, is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. Our inward condition is guilt and fear, and that's what we're going to project out and see. So my own teacher, Kenneth Wapnick, said once, don't try to change your ego or others as it makes them real. Choose to change your mind about the ego by not taking it seriously. Don't take anything that's going to happen today seriously. Everything that's going to happen today is made up. It's all a drama. Don't react to it. From the Course. Learn this and learn it well, for it is here delay of happiness is shortened by a span of time you cannot realize. It'll cost you 20 euros for me to carry on now. 20 euros? Okay, you can have the secret for free then. So you're about to hear how to shorten your happiness by a time you cannot realize. And when Jesus speaks like that, he's talking about thousands of years. You never hate your brother for his sins, but only for your own. You got the secret of happiness. Whatever form his sins appear to take, it but obscures the fact that you believe them to be yours, and therefore meriting a, quotes, just attack. So there's the line. You never hate your brother for his sins, but only for your own. Want to say 1,000 years, 10,000 years? That's the one. And why do you hate him? Because they're in you. If they weren't in you, you'd have compassion. He may be an idiot, but now he's a Christ-filled idiot, and that's very different.
You know, it really made, I mean, you know, when you start the Course in Miracles and you read that and you say, yeah, okay, but you don't really get it. But when you actually do get it, and it really has only, for me, after all these years, been in the last couple of years that I've truly got it. You know, I don't mean, oh, just out there. I mean, truly got that. It makes life so much simpler. And I think I've said that before. It's just like life, everything, every reaction you ever have to anyone is so much more, it's more easily understood. But also, sometimes you might go, well, I don't care. I'm going to still feel like this for a little while because I really just want to feel angry. But in the end, when you sort of come to your sense, you go, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Because it's me. It's always about me. And
Yeah.
so it just makes it, for me anyway, life not easier, but simpler, just because you know what you have to do. You can't keep holding on to resentment to that person, because he or she's not really part of the game at all, except was just showing you what you needed to forgive in yourself. So
Yeah.
I feel a lot better about it. Some people don't like that, and I think I didn't like it at first. I was kind of offended that it was always about me, but now I'm quite happy about that.
Mm. Oh, nicely put, Jill. Yeah,
I just have to add, yeah.
agree. Go, Ingrid.
No,
your turn.
I just heard this quote: "If you spot it, you got it. If you spot
You
it
got
in
it.
the other, you got
Yeah,
it."
you got it. Yeah,
So
very good.
yeah, if you spot it, you got it.
Spotted, you
So when
got
I
it.
spot something in the other, I got it. It's an easy
Nice.
quote.
Oh, it's a good one. I spot it, I've got it. Yeah.
Mm.
And those sort of insights that Jill was saying is what saves me if I start to go off on an injustice. At one point, it'll start knocking and say, remember this? And I go, oh. And then sometimes I can look at that person and imagine them smiling and a light coming on them. And I say, okay, thanks for the mirror, you know. I think the progress in all of this is how fast you can get around to the forgiveness. Like, expect to be still upset, but once upon a time it took 3 years, and then 3 months, then 3 weeks, then 3 minutes. I think that's the progress that you look for. Not to think, oh, I must never get angry again. That's not very good. Course in Miracles student, all that does is play into the ego's hands. But to go, oh, here I go again. What's new? Smile gently at the ego.
I think it's really important also to remember that all those lovely people out there and the things that you love about them and think are great, that you know, if you spot it, you got it. I think we don't tend to think about that. We concentrate too much on those things that need to be forgiven, and we forget that actually there's quite a nice person and quite a nice being inside of us. For much of the time, actually, nowadays, I think, you know, for all of us. And we need to celebrate that we've got to that place.
Right. I think it was last time we did that one where we listed the things we liked and disliked about another person. And I mentioned that so many times I find people having such a hard time accepting the positive side. Their ego's beating them up so much that can't be in me. Yeah.
And often we never even bother looking at that side of the list once you've changed the name. We only go and look at the negative side.
That's right. We're guilty sinners, Jill. Guilty sinners. Another one from the text. Of one thing you were sure, of all the many causes you perceived as bringing pain and suffering to you, your guilt was not among them. So everything comes from this guilt, and the prime guilt is, I think, I've separated in the unconscious again. So everything going on there that's upsetting us is just triggering the guilt. When you forgive the world your guilt, you will be free of it. How about that? I've had that said to me a few times, Michael, if you want to let the world go, then you'll have to forgive the world. There's no other way you'll leave this world behind until you forgive everything in it. When you discover you're sinless. A few remarks about being sinless. I think I told you once that through a guide I listen to each year through a friend, they said the most important thing you can teach the people that come to your classes, Michael, is that they are sinless. That's what we want you to emphasize. So, God does not forgive because he never judged, the Course says. So don't ask for God's forgiveness. He doesn't know what there is to forgive. There's so many nightmares that we kill and things happen that look like sins to us. But when we awake in the morning, there's no sin. And when we awake from this waking dream, we'll see there's been no sin either. Sin could only be achieved if you could harm the Christ, the eternal formless spirit. If you could harm that, that would be a sin. But the Christ is outside of time. It's always been there, always will be there. The Christ is who we are, the eternal formless spirit. If it's outside of time, that means it can't change. Just think about that. God can't change, Christ can't change, because they're not in time. So when you attack something and change it, that infers time again. There's no way you can change the Christ. It's outside of time. So you can't create sin. We're in time. We're in space and time. We need it for our dream. The Course says the secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself. No matter what the form of the attack, this still is true. Whoever takes the role of enemy and of attacker, still is this true. Whatever seems to be the cause of any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. For you could not react at all to figures in a dream you knew that you were dreaming. Let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it's your dream. This single lesson learned will set you free from suffering, whatever form it takes. The Holy Spirit will repeat this one inclusive lesson of deliverance until it's been learned, regardless of the form of sufferings that bring you pain. Ken Wapnick put it another way. He said, say to yourself when you're upset, I rejected the love of Jesus again, judged myself for it, felt guilty over it. And then rather than smile at such foolishness, I listened to my ego and projected the guilt onto someone else. That's why I'm feeling angry. I'll give you another diagram. Okay, share screen. Okay, this is a diagram of the wrong-minded ego thought system. Wake it up with forgiveness. So this is a bit of a summary of what we've been doing and starting to move into denial and projection more. So here's the metaphysics up at the top with the tiny mad idea of separation, the sin that we think we're separated from God. This then produces the guilt. And we're only aware of a little bit of the iceberg of guilt because we can't bear to feel this great amount here in the unconscious. And we don't think it's the guilt of separation, but it's all the negative feelings we have about ourselves. Guilt demands punishment, and so we fear the punishment that comes to us. And what we call that the unholy trinity of sin, guilt, and fear. We're feeling terrible. What do we do? The ego says, well, don't turn to the Holy Spirit. Remember who he works for. He's God's general. He'll grab you by the scruff of the neck and justifiably take you back home to God for a good punishment. And so you say, well, what can I do? The ego says, I have the perfect plan. We'll sweep all this stuff here under the carpet. We just deny. We actually separated. We arrived here by accident, didn't we? So we just sweep it under. No, it does tend to cause bumps in the carpet. And it doesn't work too well, so we better deny and project. So all these negative feelings, nothing to do with me. It's all the terrible people in the world, the government, vaccine suppliers, my mother. We'll throw it all out onto them. They're the baddies, we're the goodies. Feels good for a moment, but you know it's dishonest because you're just trying to cover up the separation. So as you do this projection, a bit later you'll feel you've sinned even more and you close the loop. And now you start to feel a bit worse. And the ego says, oh, well, just deny that and throw it out, shout louder at your mother. You might be able to get her to feel guilty, and then you'll feel a bit better for a while. But down the line, you know, it's dishonest, up goes the sin again. Welcome to the world. It's not love that makes this world go round, it's guilt. And this vicious circle has to be broken by forgiveness. Here's some denial and projection at work. The real origin of the problem is in our unconscious mind, where we place it so we won't feel psychotic. We've denied it. Works to a degree, but it tends to come up, makes the carpet bumpy. So we need to throw it out. Our desire for vengeance, which we might feel many times during the day to the things that are done to us. We deny that because we're spiritual beings, aren't we? We're Course in Miracles students. We wouldn't have feelings like that. So we criticize murderers who are seeking their vengeance through death. Murderers, string them up, lock them away, throw away the key, bring the death penalty back. All you're doing is talking about yourself. You've disconnected from your spirituality and you've become very materialistic. And you've got this hole in your heart. How am I going to fill it? Money. So the spiritual poverty is projected as poverty in the world, and you're trying to overcome it by filling this hole up with money and material goods. Poverty really triggers you in the world because that's the way you feel. Suppressed anger, perhaps you're on the spiritual path and you mustn't show anger, so it's all pushed down. Boy, do hostile people upset you. And you know you're not like them because you've never been angry in your life. In certain cultures, this is what women have to deal with, because nice girls don't get angry. Desire for control, that's how it all began. We do our own thing. And so we start hating dictators. And that's happening at the moment. So many dictators around dictating to us what we must do. And we don't feel compassion because we have this desire to control, just like they do. Here's something from Tina. If you hate something and you focus all your energy on it, you will get more of it. Laws of manifestation. So watch who you hate, how you hate, and when you hate, and make a different choice. If you invest energetically in something, then you will get more of it. Have no doubt about it. So know that the ripples of hatred and judgment that you send out will come back to you in the form of a magnified energy of that very same frequency. That's something to contemplate, is it not? Maybe some questions, and then we'll go on to an exercise around this. Anyone got anything they'd like to say?
So can you then view everyone around you in the world as just not even real humans, just like projections? And when you cease to project, they will change their behavior in a way as a result.
I know Jesus
With not with that intention of changing them, but that would be like the underneath result.
Well, I know, I think Jesus has said that as you evolve, you will see this all as a dream, and the whole thing's a projection, and there's no reality in it. And your only job then will be to extend love and truth and beauty. And people will recognize that. And they will react to one of two ways. Your example will inspire them, or they will nail you up on a cross. Because you're an example of the opposite to the way they think. So they come up to you and say, isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? And is that terrible? And you say, no, not really. They're outraged. You've criticized their thought system. You've made them insecure, and they want to get you. And that was the story of Jesus' life. Even a number of the disciples didn't really understand him. He says, so your presence of peace will be felt in the world, but the reaction could be one or other extreme. He's obviously a very good example of that. What did he say about the crucifixion? He said, clearly, this was a projection of the people upon me, because I'd harmed no one and healed many. Yeah, don't disturb the way I think. And when we talk about COVID sometimes, and I got a lot of information in my head and studies, you know, why aren't you wearing your mask? Well, you know, I've studied 35 surveys now, and they all say they're ineffective, and they actually harm some people with bronchial problems. What they'll do is only get more angry. Don't you dare criticize my secure way of thinking, because the government, my father, and the national health authorities, my mother, have told me what to think. And don't you dare tell me another way to think, because that means I can't believe in my mum and dad anymore. Go away. So there you go.
Yeah.
If you want to learn a bit of forgiveness, go and argue with someone who can't think any way different. And Jesus says there's two brains, you know, which you know about. We should be thinking up here, the cerebral cortex. But when you've got enough interfered, you switch to a pea-sized brain near the base of your neck. It's the reptilian brain that we started out with. And I'm in fear, I'll do this. No, it's nothing to fear about. Of course there is. You're the cause of it. So it's this little reptilian brain here, just knows to fight, flight, and attack, you know? And anything you say that disturbs me means I will attack you. So it's interesting. Anything else before we have a forgiveness exercise for all those Christ-filled idiots in the world? That was so with compassion, of course, you realize. That's the difference between an ordinary student and a Christ-filled student. You don't call them idiots, you have to put the word Christ in. They are Christ-filled idiots, you see. So then you know you're making progress. I think I got that right. Oh, well.
Right.
I just have to add very shortly that in 2009, I hit my head, and I hit my head in the back of my head.
Ah, right. You thought in the back of
And
your head.
that was where the sight, like the vision, lied. So I had troubles seeing things in the outside world, like reading, because that was all connected to the center. So that's interesting, because that's like the reptilian brain sees. It's all the things for the survival. You need to see
That's
things,
survival.
taste things, feel things. So it's connected here.
And if I found a good leader, like my government and the health authorities, they're making me secure because they tell me every day what I must do. And I have to wear 2 masks today, and that's all right. So don't tell me I can't trust them. Otherwise, I'll kill you. So that's my reptile. Sorry about that. Okay, enough of this fun. We're going to have an exercise now. Oh, we got somebody. Hello. Who's this? Your son? You're
Yeah.
muted, Ingrid. Can you bring him back so we can say hello? Hi there, nice to see you. We're these crazy people that hang out with your mother. Does he speak English?
Yes, he understands.
Okay, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's time to relax and have an exercise. Is that okay for you, Ingrid? You can relax. Okay. Okay, if you like to close your eyes. Let's take a few gentle but deep breaths. And breathe into your legs and tense your legs, and then relax as you breathe out. Breathe in through your arms, make fists of your hands, and relax. Breathe in and tense the muscles of the stomach, and let go. Breathe in and squeeze your shoulder blades together, and relax. If you need to move your head around, you can do that. Surrounding you is such a presence of love and healing and blessing. They know all about you. They know your nightmares and they have no judgment. Just invite them in now to be with you in this exercise, to guide you through. If it helps, you can imagine as the light shining down upon you. Or a hand you hold. And you're just sitting in the light now. Just bring to mind now any troubling thoughts you've been having lately. Maybe about COVID or relationships or yourself. Maybe you have a low opinion of yourself. Maybe it was a conversation that you've been having. Somebody you don't like, somebody on the television. Let the thoughts be there, buzzing around in the head. You might find yourself justifying them, that's all right. So they're sitting there in the head and they feel heavy. The judgments, the pain, the sadness, wherever it is. Now let them start to fall down through your head, down through the throat. They're just falling, and awaiting them is the heart. If you want, you can imagine hands there. And you can place anything into those accepting, non-judgmental hands. The pain, the sadness, the fears, they're all falling now into the heart. And it's soft and accepting. It doesn't matter how angry you are, how sad you are. It welcomes everything without judgment. You can see the people in there if you like, perhaps small, so-called enemies. They're in the heart, in the hands. You can even see them as little frightened children if you wish, because that's what they are, and they attack. So you can look upon them, the thoughts, the people, little children with acceptance. Perhaps you can see them smiling as you look at them. They're struggling through life just like you are, with the same battles. We're all the same ego and all the same Christ. You can also draw beautiful light, the color you want, gold or white. You can breathe it in down there to bathe them in that light. And you can say to them, I don't have any right to say to you, you must be different. I don't have any right to say to you, you must be different. And perhaps you can see them relaxing, maybe sitting down, lying down. They're so tired of all the struggle and the stress like you are. They're brothers and sisters. Even if it's some pain about yourself, some sadness, some lack of self-worth, they're little children too. You can tell them to rest. Perhaps you've got some words of understanding for some of them. You can speak to them now if you wish. You're healing them with your blessing, and as such, you're healing yourselves. And now let's send to these little children, whether they were your enemies or parts of yourself you didn't like, send down into your heart a little angel that will take them by the hand. And they're so happy to see this angel. And the angel is ready just to take them into the healing light. They can leave your heart together, hand in hand. And you bless them as they go. Take what time you need to complete with the exercise, and then when you're ready, just bring yourself back to the room. Welcome back. Does anyone want to share anything with the group? You're all muted at the moment.
Lena, you didn't get to finish. Did you want to say it to everyone, or did you just not want to bother? Because we got brought away when you were in the middle of saying it got easier in the last 2 years.
You're muted, Lena. You're muted.
It's been easier to forgive in the last 2 or 3 years because I've been able to focusing more on the course and the spirituality and I think many things I'm looking for the experience in my heart instead of just reading and the material and so since I was retired 2 or 3 years ago, it's been easier. That was my, but I can say my forgiveness lesson was about Magdalena Andersson, who is minister of the economy in Sweden. Because of the high taxes we pay. I think that went well.
Oh, that's who you had. You had somebody very high up. Good. Personally, I think high taxes are unforgivable, but you did well. Yeah. One day we might put God in our heart and try him, but there you go. Anyone else? Was there any questions left over from what we've done today?
I can say a meaning from a lesson one of my lessons from the course a while ago is, and it stayed with me, it's I forgive the world all the mistakes I've done. And if you accuse yourself of doing things wrong or so, that felt so releasing of guilt. I forgive the world of all the mistakes I made because I've done them in the world. So
Well, no more questions? No more sharings? Good. If there isn't, it's probably actually a good point to stop. You want to start teaching again. So very good. It's very nice being with you. Felt a nice session today. Well, we always have nice sessions, but went well. Nice to see your son briefly. That's cute. And yeah, we've got a few parts to this workshop because I didn't finish the whole part today, so that'll continue next week. So I expect this to go on perhaps another 5 parts, I think. We'll be covering all sorts of interesting subjects, all connected with forgiveness and guilt, judgment, letting go. Great. Any final words from anyone before we finish?
Very useful. Everything. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yes. Yes.
That's
These
Very useful.
illustrations you're using, are they in the book that you wrote?
Some of them are from Healing the Cause, and some I just have recently found. So they're a mix. They're a mix.
They were good. The circle and the process. I like them. I will look on them later, I think.
Or
see the
the,
recording.
the last one I did, was that the one with the circle? Yeah, if you can always email me and I can send it as well, the diagrams. I can put them all together. That shouldn't be a problem. Good. Anything else before we finish?
I hear it's falling apart upstairs.
I think you're needed,
So,
Ingrid. I
I'm
think you're
leaving.
needed. Yes, I
But,
think you better leave immediately.
lovely to see you all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay,
Yes.
friends. Time for us to go, and I'll
Okay.
see you hopefully in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for today. Bye bye.
Bye.